Who is the most badass person in history? Dutch resistance fighter Hannie Schaft when she was executed and the first attempt only wound her. Ik schiet beter. I shoot better. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know whether you fully understand that I have just been shot. But it takes more than that to kill a bull moose. Theodore Roosevelt. I mentioned this the last time this question came up, but it bears repeating. Sir William the Marshal, born the second son of very minor nobility, rose to become one of the most powerful men of his time, effectively ruling England off and on through regencies. Undefeated in hundreds of battles, was regarded by his peers as the baddest man alive at a time when that meant life or death. Was so honourable the code of chivalry is largely based on his life. Defeated the man widely regarded as the greatest knight in France one-on-one. As a 60-something-year-old, one of the signatories of the original Magna Carta. I'm honestly not doing the man justice here. His life story reads like bad fiction, it's so ludicrous. Except it's historically verifiable. Spartacus. Apparently he escaped slavery and formed a group of around 100 rebel gladiators and fought against the entirety of Rome for freedom. Nelson Mandela. To come out of what he did with peace and compassion is badass. Desmond Doss. Served in WW2 and saved 75 men in the Battle of Okinawa without firing a single shot and is the only conscientious objector to receive the Medal of Honor. My dad. He built our home by hand with no power tools at all. He cuts 10 cords of firewood every year at the age of 72 and has been doing it for the last 40 years. He is loving and caring, but at the same time he is a true badass. He was about to get mugged in Seattle in the early 90s by 3 guys at the bus station and he looked them square in the eyes and slowly reached into his jacket to go for his homemade peanut butter and jelly sandwich. All 3 guys decided to walk away at that moment instead of getting shot. He went to prison in the late 60s for selling pot. 2 days into it some guy tried to rape him. My father, the nicest guy in the world, fractured the guy's skull. Broke his jaw and the guy wasn't the same afterwards. He said from that moment on no one messed with him. My dad sat down and played with us every day after a long day at work without fail. In a world where there are less and less fathers at home each year, a true badass is a father that will do anything for his family. Ronald McDonald even has his own video series titled Project Badass. Robert Smalls. The guy was a slave who commandeered a Confederate ship. Tank Man of Tiananmen Square. 1989. The Chinese government had just slaughtered somewhere between several hundred and a couple thousand people. This dude has the balls to block a column of tanks by himself, completely unarmed. Captain Mad Jack Churchill, who killed many Nazis with a long bow and Scottish baxword. Eleanor of Aquitaine. She was queen of not only France, but also England. Not at the same time though. She also birthed multiple kings of England. Helped them rule when need be. Very intelligent. Had her own duchy. And lived to the ripe old age of 81 or 82 in a time where that age was unthinkable. Simo Häyhä. White Death. For obvious reasons. Harriet Tubman. Pretty badass lady. Joan of Arc. Hands down. Gaius Julius Caesar. Aristocratic birth and kidnapped by pirates. Raised his own ransom and joked. Promised that he'd crucify them, which they laughed at. Released. Raised an army in early 20s. Hunted these pirates down and captured them. Appealed to local governor to crucify them, but Gov instead wanted to probably sold them as slaves. took it upon himself to crucify the whole lot himself but slit their throat first as act of mercy. Family backed wrong side during civil war, causing him to leave all his fortune and connections. Flee and join the military. Rose through the ranks as a capable and effective soldier. Engaged in campaign against Spartacus. Worked as a lawyer while living in slum apartments and built a personable relationship with the people. Borrowed and spent all money to be elected Pontifex Maximus, which is like a high political religious leader, fearing he'd have to run if lost and unable to pay back debt. Fucking 1. Joined a political alliance of 3 men. Triumvirate. Which he was the weakest, the other 2 being the equivalent of a Bezo and General Eisenhower. Got sent to the provinces in the wild country of Gaul. Modern-day France. Maneuvered one of the greatest military campaigns in history. Fought a united Gaul under Vercingetorix, which Caesar was greatly outnumbered but chased his enemy to Alesia, where they fortified with walls. He prepared to lay siege despite being outnumbered by blockading it with dozens of miles of walls. He erected within days. Gaulish reinforcements came to rescue with even more people. Like 140,000. And instead of running, he built an even greater external ring of walls within days around his own fucking miles-long internal wall. Fought while surrounded inside and out. Fucking 1. Became militarily and financially more powerful than Bezos and Eisenhower equivalent allies. Britain being separated by Channel was like the moon for the Romans, rumored to have magical and wild beings or forces there. He built a bridge in a matter of days, which was never done before. Crossed it. Fucked around a bit and turned back. Dismantling the bridge. Just to say he did it. Bezos died trying to get a military excellence badge to match his wealth. Disrupting the alliance. Came back to Rome after branded something like a rogue general. Fought a civil war against Eisenhower. 1. Chased to Egypt. Got involved with a civil war there as well. Hooked up with Cleopatra. Won that war. Came back to Rome and started fixing things wrong. Getting backstabbed by friends and colleagues. Assassinated was probably the only thing he didn't overcome.